Well, what is up, friends and family? Welcome back to another episode of The Flop. We are excited to be back, and we're going to talk about how good we actually are at this game today. We have a podcast about cornhole.
Ooh.
Surely we should be relatively decent at this. Well, find out in this episode. But before we talk about how just amazing we are at cornhole.
Asterisk.
Yeah. Fine print. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Triple Crown Cornhole. As always, the link to their Facebook page and website will be in the description down below. We'd also like to thank our new sponsor, Renown Bag Co., which we will link their Facebook page and website in the description down below as well.
And also, don't forget to go get your flop merch.
For sure. We didn't even coordinate this. We just both ended up wearing flop merch.
It just happened. So
yeah, it's a natural thing.
Meant to be. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, you can check out our flop merch in the link in the description down below as well on our Teespring site. That really helps us out, and we appreciate it. And we love, like we talked about last week, we love seeing pictures of guys on the podium rocking the flop merch. So thank you guys for that.
Heck yeah.
So, Dad, what is going on? How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great.
That's good.
I am just living the absolute dream, as they say. Got to play a little cornhole over the weekend, so it can't be too bad.
That's awesome.
What about you?
I'm doing really well. So this past weekend, or yesterday, was Father's Day. I hope that the family showered you with, love and gifts, because you deserve it. So did you have a good day?
I did. I had a great day. I started with breakfast in bed, and then we watched a little TV, snuggled up, and then I got to go to a new pizza place, which for me, a new pizza place is always exciting. And it was awesome too, so that made it even better. And then just closed it out, trying to get in bed a little early, get some rest. Didn't work though. I'm still exhausted. So
it didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Well, I'm glad you had a good day, and happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. This, if you didn't know already, this is a great game to get involved with your son. It's kind of the whole reason we do what we do and everything. So
that's
really
right.
Cool.
That's right. Yeah, it is. It is really cool. It was really nice because you and we've always been close anyway. And then I fell in love with cornhole. And then you started to take it a little more seriously, and then you fell in love with cornhole, and so it was just one more excellent thing for us to bond over. And obviously, we have taken it to the next level by starting a podcast to talk about it. So there you go. So dads, if you're struggling to connect with your kids, get them some bags, get them some boards, go do it.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no better way. So it's a great time. So okay. Let's get into this episode. We both played in a regional over the past weekend, and, we don't actually post a ton. I think you've posted some live videos recently and stuff, so people have gotten to watch you play. I've never posted anything live because I just feel like people just would not want to see the atrocious throwing that I do. But, yeah, so I don't know if you guys have ever wondered.
People love watching bad cornhole just as much as they love watching good cornhole, so...
Yeah, that's actually true. I watch a lot of bad cornhole as well.
Right.
I'm not biased or partial.
Exactly.
But yeah, so let's just go ahead and talk through our regionals. Maybe you can pull up some stats from yours. I think I've got some pictures of like my PPR and stuff like that. But tell me about your regional. How'd it go?
Okay, so I'm really excited. And I feel like people are like, well, that's foreshadowing. But I went in really excited because, Justin and I, my partner, we past two regionals we've gone together, we've won. So, people were starting to talk that, maybe it was, maybe we needed to be moving up. But we get to the regional this time, and there's actually not enough teams present for us to have an advanced and a competitive division.
Classic.
So the decision was made for us, and unfortunately my partner's the one who had to pull the trigger because he's our regional director. So He's the one that had to be like, well, we got to merge the division. So
Nice.
yeah. So hey, we got to answer a question. People were like, if you guys are winning and competitive all the time, maybe you should move up. Maybe you should see what that's like to move up to the advanced division. Well, we got to do that over the weekend, and we found out we had a really tough first game, and we were able to win. So we were like, okay,
Dang,
here we go.
nice.
Let's see if we can do it. And then we ran into an absolute buzzsaw of a second game. I told the other team after we beat them, the first team, I said, you guys do realize that the winner of that game really lost, right? You see who we've got to go play. So just to go ahead and spoiler alert, it was Caitlin Ham and Maddie McBride.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, so we played them, and we scored 7 points on them. So I felt like it was a victory.
Nice.
I felt
That
like
is a
I
victory.
felt like we did. I felt like we did well, but realistically, I mean, it's just we got our teeth stomped in, and then so we, like I said, we're 1-1 at this point, and then we go over to our third game, and it is another top tier advanced team, and I think we scored. We did score. We did have a good game. I will say that.
That's
but we did ultimately lose. So we went 1-2 in our advanced debut. So I felt pretty confident saying that. I feel like when we talked about that after the last regional, that's one of the things we said was like, yeah, but being at the top of competitive doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be, middle, or you're going to be top of a middle or whatever of advanced. And we actually ended up finishing. The only team we finished above was the team that we beat the first game, because they ran into a buzzsaw their second game and went 0-2. So we saw real quick, man, that was the absolute. I mean, that was the test of all time right there, was going into the advanced division and getting 2 top level advanced teams right out of the gate, which maybe we would have gotten a lower one in another instance or whatever, but I mean, the fact remains is that it's a possibility.
Yeah.
So
before you move on, I wanted to ask, when you and Justin played Maddie McBride and Caitlin Ham, tell me about that game. Like you said, they destroyed you. Like, I just kind of want to dig into, what does it mean that you guys got destroyed by an advanced team? Like, what did they do that was so much better than what you did? Like, how was the actual game?
The actual game, it was a game of slow bags versus fast bags. We were throwing Vikings, and they were throwing Caitlin's Vipers, and so they were about shooting it down the middle, going in the hole. Which, make no mistake, those two ladies are not old man fast side. These ladies can cut, push, airmail like there's no tomorrow. So when I say they throw it straight up the middle and go in the hole, that's when they choose to throw it straight up the middle and go in the hole. They can airmail on you. Caitlin's airmailed 4 on me in a row before, and it was the most demoralizing thing ever. I threw my first bag. This was at that charity tournament I did a few weeks back at Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
I threw a perfect block on Caitlin right in front of the hole, and she airmailed over it. And then I threw a bag and missed the push, shot it off to the side. She airmailed over it. I missed the next one. She airmailed over it. I was like, oh my God. It was so demoralizing. She ended up, and so, yeah. So like I said, when I say they go straight up the middle, I mean, they were choosing to go straight up the middle because we weren't landing our blocks the way we wanted to. There were many times when Justin would land an almost perfect block and Maddie would step out a little bit and just bully it right off and go straight through.
Man.
I will say that, for instance, Maddie's points per round, Maddie's PPR was a 9.8.
Nice.
And Justin was throwing. He was at 8.2. So, I mean, that's a really good game for either one of us in a competitive division, and 8.2 might get you the win. Like, that's a pretty good chance. But Maddie was throwing a 9.8. and then I was struggling. This was our second game. Early in the morning, they had changed it up to where doubles went first. Normally, it's blind draw first, but anyway, doubles went first, and so excuse. I was struggling. I threw a 6.6, which is sad for me. And then Caitlin threw a 7.8, which wasn't her best game, obviously, because she's certainly capable of throwing better than that, and did continue to throw better. They actually ended up in the queen seat. They did get double dip, but they took second, so no joke. But yeah, so I mean, we held our own for a little bit. We got our 7 points, and then it was just like no looking back. They just kind of went on.
Man, it's just so fascinating to watch people throw nearly every bag in the hole. I was able to watch the same thing. We've got just some of the best guys in the sport out here in North Carolina, and I was just watching them, and I mean, it's absurd. I mean, the level of focus and consistency, and just I don't know. I guess it's just like mental grit. I really don't know what it is. I mean, I don't see that they're doing anything, vastly different than everybody else. It's just, God, I don't know what it is. It's like some intangible. Maybe it is tangible. It's probably practice. They just probably throw more than you could ever possibly imagine, and I think that's true. But I don't know.
It's very true, because one of the beautiful things about this game, and one of the frustrating things about this game, is that you're just throwing a 1 pound beanbag 27 feet,
Yeah.
And when you look at it surface level, and you look at it just from bird's eye view, you're like, I should be able to do this every time. Once you throw your first bag in the hole, you would think, just repeat it. Just repeat that motion. Throw your next bag in the hole. Throw your next bag in the hole. And so, what you're talking about is the intangibles of what these people do when they make it to the next level. When they level up, and they're clearly really good at cornhole. It's like, it's so fascinating, because I can throw bags in the hole. I could throw lots of bags in the hole. But in my games, if you go through and look, like 1 4-bagger, maybe no 4-baggers in a particular game. It's a very rare instance when I get 2 4-baggers in a game, and these people just do it. They just throw every bag in the hole, and it's just, sometimes you're just in awe of the ability to do that. And I know a lot of people, and one of the main reasons, that we got into the podcast was to really talk about how this is a serious sport. And though a lot of people laugh and call it beanbag toss and, and this, that, and the other, it takes a lot of skill to be really good at this game.
Yep.
And people, they just make fun of it. They're like, oh my God, you're throwing a beanbag in the hole. Like, I could do that with my eyes closed. It's like, you couldn't. You really couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing a year now, and I mean, I've been playing a year, and I've been putting a lot of effort in. Like, you would think, if you just looked at this game, you would think, yes, if I just put in the time that they put in, and I spent a year just trying to get as good as I could at sliding those bags in the hole, I could do it, no problem. But you can't, because if you could, then I don't know what would happen. I guess we would just have way more people throwing 10 PPRs and stuff, but we just don't. And I don't know what it is. I mean, it's crazy. I guess you just have to keep throwing.
Well, and you're right too, because I've been throwing for a little over 2 years, and I mean, I'm still not. I'm still so far away from where I want to be, and so like you said, you've been playing for a year, and you practice way more than I do. I don't get a chance to hardly ever throw, and so it's like you think, well, if you just put in the work and you do that, and if you do put in the work, you will get better and you will get more consistent. So we're not going against what we preach on this channel. because if you don't put in the work, there's a very real possibility that your skill's gonna dissipate. It's like
That's
you
right.
know, it's like anything else. You use it or lose it. But there are some people it just clicks a lot quicker for, and it's automatic. I mean, there's just I have people that I know personally who are amazing cornhole players, and they never play. I'll go to a barbecue or a crawfish boil, and this one individual will show up, and he'll be throwing 4-baggers, and I'm like, "Daggone, man, I'm like, you've been practicing?" He's like, "Yeah, well, I mean, I guess last time I played was the last time we were at such and such's house, like, 3 or 4 months ago." And I just want to choke them to death or drown them in the pool, because it's like, you're throwing better than me, and I freaking get to throw. I throw at least a couple of times a week.
Yeah.
It's like it should be no brainer that I should automatically be better than you. And you and I talked about that on actual Memorial Day weekend, because we were both struggling there. And someone who doesn't really throw all the time would be throwing and like keeping up and stuff like that, and it's so frustrating. And we talk about it, we're like, we should be better.
Yeah.
And it's not a conceited place that it's coming from. If you play all the time and you play against somebody who doesn't play all the time, the world should dictate that you are a better cornhole player than they are.
Yeah.
Just from the rule of activity or practice or what, I don't know what rule that would be, but just a simple
Let's
fact
create
that
a mathematical theorem right now.
Cornholio's variable. I don't know, but it's like you feel like that in your head too. You're like, I should be not only better than this person, they should never even get a point. And not because I'm amazing, but because I play all the time and they don't play all the time. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
That's not always the case.
Hard work doesn't guarantee success. It just doesn't. Like, it's true in everything. Like, some people just have it, man. Some people, and I don't know, maybe like you've seen someone in school or something who just would throw pieces of paper in the trash can and like never missed or something. Like, it just they're just naturally good at it. Their hand-eye coordination, whatever. Maybe they start playing basketball. Maybe they start golfing. And you're just like, dude, I golf all the time. Like, how are you so much better than me? You just started. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes we don't give, genetics and just natural inclinations towards skill enough credit, because it's true. I mean, like, we do inherit, like, it is a scientific fact. We inherit genetic abilities, whether they be like cognitive or whether they be physical like attributes like strength or agility or whatever.
Right.
It factors into it. Now, that's something that we can't control. So what we have to do is we have to set that aside and work as hard as we can and try to push past the things that we can control to create success and to be great at whatever we're trying to do. But it's something, I mean, it's true. Like, we all see it. Like, there are just people that just have it, man. And it's crazy and it's fascinating.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's like, a person that comes to mind is that local guy that we interviewed, Justin Duke. He's only been playing for a couple of years too. So he's been playing at least as long as I have, maybe a tick longer. And is just one of the best cornhole players around. Like, he's just really great.
He's so good.
And it's like, you would think, okay, we've been playing the game for about the same amount of time. You would think our skill levels would be comparable, but they're not. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm not as good as him. Like, he's way better than I am. And I know other people who have started and they just take to it. Now, I will say a lot of people, there are some sports that have led to success in cornhole. A lot of softball players have really good success transitioning to cornhole. Horseshoe players have great success. Washer players. Any kind of sport where you are needing to throw an object, straight. Any that's building that hand-eye coordination. Bowlers also. tend to have the good ability to jump into that. But so yeah, it's like you said, there you have to take into consideration so many of these other extenuating factors. Some people are just naturally good at stuff. You know, you could take a person who's never played basketball in their life, and you put a basketball in their hands, and they just jump and dunk it. And you're like, wow.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, where did that come from? It's just they're genetically able to do it. Now, you know, it might take more work to get good at like outside shots and things, dribbling and ball control and all of that. But heck, there's even people who thrive or just out of the gate at that stuff too. Just you take a person who sits down at a piano and, you know, they just you're like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, it happens. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, that's just all got to be factored into it. So
definitely. Yeah. I mean, one thing I will say about cornhole, people play a lot nowadays. I mean, they really, really do. I played against, I guess we can kind of hop into my first. I didn't play doubles. I didn't have a partner that was available. Anybody who lives in North Carolina wants to partner up in competitive doubles, hit me up. But so I just came and played singles, and I actually played in competitive for the first time. And it was really cool. I enjoyed it. I definitely didn't feel like, I definitely felt good about my decision to move up to competitive from intermediate. I still threw an intermediate level PPR. I threw a 5.73, and that partially was because I was trying to block. And so my first game, I played a guy who plays locally here. He's real good, and he plays. God, he has to play, you know, at least 3 times a week, at least, you know, blind draw 3 times a week and stuff. And I haven't been playing blind draws at all. In fact, this is my first regional in months. I mean, and I really haven't been going to blind draws. I've been so busy with school. But anyways, so I tried to block, and you know, it just didn't quite work. They weren't quite hitting. I was throwing some front boards. I'm convinced that when I go play regionals, I change the way I throw. And I think it's something about, like, normally when I'm at home, I have a butterfly grip and I'm, you know, just spinning the bag, trying to get good spin on the bag, and just keeping everything tight and trying to throw up the middle. But when I go to a regional, I can feel it. I can feel my throw change. I kind of exaggerate my throw to try to, like, ensure, like, praying to God that it lands where I want it to on the board, as opposed to just kind of letting go and just throwing. But it's not just as easy as letting go and just throwing, because, like, if you step up to the board, boom, you throw your first bag, feels great, boom, front board, like, smacks the board. And it's like, okay, that's fine. I'm just going to chill. I'm just going to just keep doing what I'm doing. Whatever. If a bag doesn't go on the board, or I hit the front, or I go off the back, whatever, I just keep throwing. Then you do it again. Now you are forced to do something different. You have to.
Absolutely.
You can't just do the same thing over and over again and throw all 4 of your bags on the front of the board. You've got to, like, swing under more, get more momentum, get more loft. And what that's doing is it's changing your throw. It's changing the trajectory. It's changing the spin rate, the tilt on your bag, everything. And you're having to switch to something that is not what you've been practicing at home. But, I mean, good God, what am I going to do? Like, am I just going to just accept insanity and just burn in a fiery death and just throw every bag, you know, off the board or whatever? Like, I've got to do something. And so it's tough, man. It's really tough, and I feel myself throwing differently at regionals. I came home and practiced and stuff, and, you know, kind of figured it out. I think I need to take a tip from Ryan Windsor and really spin the bag as much as I possibly can. I think that really helps when the bag hits the board, and it kind of levels it out. And I don't know, it almost helps it find the hole when it's spinning like that. It's just more consistent. But
yeah, well, I mean, over the course of, you know, you've heard it a million times. Soccer balls, golf balls, when they're spinning, they are, bending, right?
Yep.
Same could be said for a cornhole bag. If you have a slow spin rate on the bag, you're more apt to that bag kicking, or to a lesser degree, not necessarily a kick, because we've all seen a kick that's a hard kick. It hits the board and just jerks, right? But we've also seen that gradual curve. So if you've got that slower spin rate on your bag, it is way more susceptible to the friction of the board. You know what I mean? So when it hits that board, it's curling it just past the hole, almost exactly like curling. It's just curling slowly past the hole, versus a high spin rate bag, which will ultimately curl. If the board were considerably longer, it would ultimately curl to the direction of against the spin, right?
That's it. You're a physicist, Dad. I mean, that's straight up. That's it.
That's it. We figured it out. So yeah, a higher spin rate is going to ensure that your bag stays at least true in the amount of space you have on the board. I mean, we're talking what, 6 inches down from the top is the hole, and then nobody really lands at the bottom of the board unless you already have a bag at the bottom of the board, and then you land all four at the bottom of the board.
Exactly.
But most of the time you land about 6 to 8 inches up, I would say, from the bottom. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you're dealing with a space of just 3 feet. Let's just say 3 feet. If your bag is spinning, then friction's not going to have any chance to have its way with your bag.
Yeah, if it's spinning enough, it's not going to have time to do something wonky. It's just going to spin into the hole. Is that Jeff
that even goes
McCarriger that says that on ASCL? And he spins it right into the hole. It's like, yeah, every single bag that all of these people throw spin.
Every single
Why are you saying that?
Why are you saying that, Jeff? I know, it's absolutely. Wow, and then just look at the spin rate on. Yeah, they all spin, Jeff.
They're all doing
all of them
it.
do.
Anyway,
but
sorry.
Yeah, no, but what I was just going to say is, like, that even goes with humid boards. If boards are really sticky, you throw it low, hard, with a high spin rate, it's still going to go straight. So, I mean, having a high spin rate on your bag is definitely, it's one of those things. If you can throw a flat bag with a high spin rate,
Yep.
Then all you got to do about it, all you have to worry about at that point is throwing it online.
That's it. And I've seen that from personal experience. I mean, actually, yeah, I've thrown a lot of bags in the summertime at blind draws, and the best players, like the pro level players, like if Cheyenne Renner comes out or a local guy, Bobby Hunt or Jason Tyson, these are two of the best players in North Carolina, in the country, I think. But they spin the bag so much, like everyone's freaking out, oh, the boards are so humid, oh, like, I can't get anything to move, I need like to throw a fast side game changer or whatever. It's like they throw the same bags and it does not matter, because that bag has such a high rate of spin that it's just cutting through that humidity and going in the hole.
Absolutely. You see Tony Smith with those combats. Man, I'm convinced there's not a stickier bag, except for maybe suede, than a combat, or possibly a surefire on a humid board. But he throws those suckers so fast, like this, they spin so fast, and he throws so hard that you'd never even know. And you see it hit the board and like skip, because it wants to just grab it, but he's thrown it so hard that it just skips across the board and goes right in the hole.
Can't hold on. Yeah,
it can't hold on. But for me, if I have to throw hard, it's a wrap. My accuracy is gone, and I can throw a good hard push every once in a while, but I mean, most of the time when I throw it, when I really like let one loose, it's not going to be online. And if it is online, it's going to front board, because I want to ask this question to you, and I want to ask this question to Flop Nation right now. I'm convinced that every front board was a perfect bag until it hit the front of the board. I have never thrown a front board. Like, if I'm going for a hard push and I've got a bag sitting just off to the left of the hole, and then I hurl this bag with everything in my soul, and it is perfectly online, and then it just goes thunk. Oh,
and it's always perfect. It's dead
always
on.
Perfect.
That's
I have
so
never,
true with me too.
I've never had that bag off to the left of the hole and then I front board off to the right of the board.
Nope.
Never. It is always directly, perfectly on line.
It's a true laser beam.
Oh, makes me so
God.
mad too. Makes me so mad. I had a couple of those over the weekend too that were just darts on line. Just ooh, they're on a chain the whole way. I was so excited. Don't. Damn it.
It eats you up in your soul.
It does. It does.
But so I lost the first game, and then my second game I was able to win. I was super excited.
Right.
So my first win in the competitive division.
Your first
was dope.
competitive win. That's exciting.
Yeah, it was really cool, and it's just because I was up the middle, and I was throwing the Widow R's, and the carpet was working great, and the blocks were awesome. Like I said, PPR wasn't high at all, but sometimes it doesn't matter. If you're in the way, you're in the way, and up until you get up into the really the advanced pro level divisions where people like Caitlin are hitting 4 airmails over the top of your block. Being in the way is like one of the best things that you can do.
I agree. When you're truly playing in a competitive division with competitive players, there are a lot of players who can hit really sick airmails and who have pretty decent airmail percentages, but you're not running into many that are going to just continually put 2 airmails over your blocker, much less 3 or 4 in the competitive division.
Yeah, not every time.
No. So, but that's big, man. Your first competitive win.
Yeah, it was cool. And then so I ended up going 1-2. So I played another game after that, and it just didn't work out. I felt myself, in desperation mode after bags would hit the front of the board or whatever, and or a block wouldn't hit. It's just like, man, I got to do something. So you end up having to change your throw or whatever. I'm really going to try to not do that in the future. And if I lose 22,000 to 0, I just do. And it's because changing your throw, like, I feel like changing my throw, that can't be good. Like,
it can't be
I'm
because you're not practicing.
Crazy.
You're not letting your practice take over at that point.
Exactly. And so I just need to stop appealing to like emotion, stop holding on to like I think what it is a lot of times when we don't succeed in regional situations, and I don't mean we, I just mean like the greater we, like everybody listening and myself included. I think we're just thinking about thinking about the end result instead of being in the moment and being focused on what we're doing. I mean, if the next bag. Yeah, I mean, God, you can feel it. Like if you're ever throwing well and stuff, like I'm sure you guys have felt it. This happens to me in Ghost all the time, by the way. I'll be playing Ghost or something, and I'll be throwing so well, or I'll be throwing a deck around practicing at home. I'll be throwing so well, and I'm like, dude, I'm about to text my dad, or I'm about to call my dad and say how awesome. And I'm like fighting that in my brain. I'm like, stop thinking about telling yourself or being excited for yourself or talking to someone else. Like, that is not the point. And then inevitably, every single time when I'm having one of the greatest games ever, I've thrown 3-4 baggers, in a row or something crazy, it drifts off because I lose focus and I come out of the present moment. I start thinking about the end result, and then bye-bye. Like, it's all gone.
It happens, and it happened to me over the weekend in singles.
Yeah, let's
go. I had a
singles.
Game. Well, just also to recap, my PPR for Bring Your Own Partner was just so we're all in the loop or whatever. Where did it go? 7.57.
Nice. That's good. That's good stuff.
It's decent. That's a decent PPR, but is, I believe, probably a firmly competitive PPR. The tops were in the 9s, so it is what it is. But so moving over to singles, singles actually threw better.
Good.
So I threw better in singles. But still, where did I end up? In singles, I ended up tied for 7th. It looks like. So
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
What was your record
5, 6,
in singles?
8. No. What was my record in singles? Give me 1 sec. Let's see here. So I had a bye, so technically that's a win, which is awesome. So that'd be 1. Then I won my first game, lost my second game, won my third game, lost my fourth game. So technically I went 3-2 because I had to bye. But I mean, as far as actual games played, 2-2. And the game I was going to speak to you about, and to what you were saying about losing it. I had a game where I was up 16-5.
Ooh.
16-5, and I ended up losing 24-16.
Didn't even score a point.
I didn't score another single point that whole time. Now, I will say it's funny because I started hot and they started cold, and my PPR for this game was a 7.59, 1 4-bagger. I threw 1 4-bagger. But it was a 7.59, and then his PPR was an 8.06. But
wow,
3 4-baggers. But the thing is that he started off slow, and I started off pretty hot. And then they just switched. I started getting up to 16, and then we'd have a few washes, and it's just like at this point, like you're watching it. You're like, the few washes, he scores 2. Couple washes, he scores 3. And it's like, oh God, this is not happening. This is not happening.
Please.
And then, I'd have a chance to score, and then I would shoot off to the right and wash or something like that. It's like every time I had an opportunity to score, I couldn't. But every time he had an opportunity to score, he did.
Yeah.
And so, same situation. It's like I'm sitting here, man, and I've got it. And everybody's lost. Everybody's had a come from behind loss, or where someone has you've had a demanding lead. We've seen people with a 20-point lead. We've seen people 20-0 lose a game. So It's completely possible, and it happens. But in your head, you're thinking there's no physical way that this should happen. I needed to get 5 points. You mean to tell me over the course of the rest of the rounds in that game, I could not muster 5 points? Well, I couldn't. I couldn't even muster 1 point over the rest of that game. So you're absolutely right. It's like you sometimes you get in your own head where you see the outcome and you forget to play the game. And it's funny because after that particular game, I had another game where I had a pretty good lead, and they I don't think they had any points at that point. But then all of a sudden they started to score, and I was like, I will be damned if I'm letting this happen again.
Yeah.
If I'm going to let this happen again, it is not happening. And luckily, it didn't. And I ended up going ahead and winning. That was my second game. And then my last game, I'm going to tell the story because everybody at my regional has already heard this story multiple times because I told anyone that would listen.
Okay.
Really good game. My last game was a really solid game. And we get to the very end. Okay, and I'm throwing my Vikings, and I'm throwing against the guy who's throwing Vipers, and it is 20 to what did I have? 19. Okay. 20-19. I had 19. So I throw my Viking or whatever, and it curls to the back of the hole. So it's sitting on the back side of the hole. Okay.
All right.
He throws his Viper, and it goes in, I think. I throw another Viking, and it goes to the front side of the hole. He throws his Viper, it goes in or whatever. I throw mine, I roll, or he blocks, sets a block right beside mine. So I have a Viking and a Viper right there. So I throw my bag and hit a perfect roll bag, flip it over. And and I think I messed something up here because I think I ended up with 5 bags. Basically, the end of the game was I hit a sick roll, then I hit another roll, but it stacked on top of the bag that was already on the back of the hole.
Oh, dang. Okay.
So he throws an airmail over his bag that's a blocker. Okay, misses. So he's showing 7 and I'm showing 5 because I've got 1 in, 2 on, and they're both sitting the back of the hole, like stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
He's showing 7. So if I airmail drag these 2 bags, I win. If I hit these 2 bags and they fall in and my other bag goes off the board, I win. That's my 2 points, right?
Yeah.
I throw this airmail and it is so beautiful and perfect. And it smacks the 2 bags on the back of the hole, bounces off the board, and the bags don't move. They are nailed to the hole. And I'm just like, this is my life. Like, I would have rather just thrown the airmail long. I would have rather thrown it and clanged it off the side of the board.
Just blatantly missed it. Yeah.
Yeah, like the fact that I hit the 2 bags and not a one. If one of them would have fallen, it would have been a wash. Even one of them. But if both of them would have fallen, I would have won. If I would have drug them all, then obviously I would have won big time, and that would have been like sick, and I would have yelled and screamed and ran around the place. But
God.
anyways, it was a really good game, and he played awesome. He was really good, and I think he ended up getting second.
Very
competitive.
Cool. Yeah.
But that was my competitive singles. But I did end up with for competitive singles, I ended up with an 8.07 PPR. So that was a pretty good showing for me. So I was the third highest PPR in singles, which was nice.
That's great. Well, I don't want to keep this episode going too long, so let's go ahead and get into the blind draw, where you did find some real success. So tell me about that.
The blind draw was awesome, and then we will keep it. We won't go on too long, but I struggled early. I got a gentleman, Chris Seaton, who is a pro. I believe he's an ACO pro, and
Thank God. That's awesome.
I was so excited, and I was like, I told Justin who I got, and he goes, "Don't Amber Heard this, Rob." And I was like, "What?" He was like, "He's a pro. Don't mess it up." And I was like, "Oh God."
You got a real shot here.
I got a real shot because I like to think that I'm decent enough that if I can get a super solid stud on the other end,
yep,
that we're capable of beating someone, because they can do what they need to do, and I can at least handle or hang with the person on my end, right?
Yeah, you're definitely good enough. If you get a pro, you guys should be trying to win at least.
Right. So, I mean, he was awesome. And he started off, he's asking me what I was throwing or whatever, and he said he liked fast bags, so we tried to start with the shapeshifters. And I had just been throwing carpet. Like I said, blind draw was last. So I had been throwing Vikings for doubles and for singles. So nice. I stunk it up with the shapeshifters out of the gate. It was just, they were just shooting off the back of the board.
Did he throw them well?
He of course threw them well. He threw just amazing. So, but so I was just either front boarding because I was so hesitant, or I was going long because I just threw it past the hole. And so the next game he was like, what have you been throwing today? And I was like, I've been throwing Vikings. And he's known for throwing fast bags. And it's funny because he posted about the blind draw, and like every comment underneath his post was like, BG Vikings? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Like it's like unheard of, But he threw them, and he threw them great. He threw the fast side. My BGs are pretty. They're not like balls like a lot can be. They're pretty loose, so they don't feel like a carpet bag, necessarily. So he would throw the fast side of those, and he threw lights out. Like I broke this man's spine. I was just
staring you.
I was on his shoulders and like holding on to him like this, and like my leg over. I mean, I was just like, it was a disaster. But anyway, That was early. I started to pick it up a little bit, kind of find my groove. I changed up my throw completely, just like you were talking about, because my traditional throw that's normally pretty good, I just couldn't find it. So I was changing. I changed my grip. I changed my release. I changed everything, but it got us through. And in fact, it was pretty cool because he had some rough moments in the final. You know, we went undefeated to the final, had the king seat, and then in the final game, which I posted on our Facebook page, if anybody wants to go watch it, you know, there he had a couple of rough rounds here and there, and I was actually able to pick things up on my end, hit some really good shots, had a couple of sick cuts that you may or may not be able to see because I was throwing from the camera in, so that was, you know, really far down there, but there were a couple of times like I was hitting anything I wanted to hit, and I just felt so good about it. And then we won.
Heck yeah.
And it was, you know, it's always cool. So I got a stud. Chris, thank you. I don't know if you're watching the show or not, but thank you so much for carrying me through that. And I was glad I was able to at least help out a little bit here and there. I think that's the point of a good partner anyway, is to just do enough, right? Just do enough. And I felt like I did enough for us to win. So, but yeah, you definitely carried the load. So, thank you for that. But that was my blind draw experience. So, and I threw a 7.71 in the blind draw. So, that's not terrible either.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, that's perfect. 7.7 and a blind draw. Yeah, that's really good. I don't know why is it that pros can literally throw any bag? They can throw any bag, and it just doesn't matter. I don't know what it is. They're magicians.
They are magicians, and it's frustrating sometimes because, like I said, this guy, he threw the shapeshifters. He threw them just fine. We switched over to the Vikings. He's like, okay, let me throw. Let's do a couple down the back. We found an empty board, and we went over, and he just threw all four of them in the hole. And he's like, yeah, okay, those will.
All right. Yeah, sweet. Cool. It's like,
I'm like,
Lee, dude. Yeah.
For me, it's like, I'm like, yeah, so what do you throw? And they're like, oh, I throw fast bags. I'm like, all right, let me have a couple down and bags. Front board, off the side, off the right, through the wall, hit him in the shin.
God, I know.
I'm like,
it's
I'm
like,
sorry.
We're like, yeah, I like to throw BG Vikings, but I have 4 different sets. So one, if the, barometric pressure is a certain way. One for when my fingernails hurt, and then one set for whatever. It's crazy, and they just throw whatever they want, and all of them are in the hole.
I know. That's like when you partnered with Cheyenne Renner, that some people may or may not know.
My best friend in the whole world.
Yeah, you're tight. So
she doesn't know this, but
she doesn't know this, but it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, she throws an all slide, like one of the fastest bags, And then y'all threw your Vikings, and she threw carpet side. She didn't even throw the fast side.
And
she
just
throws the
flat
carpet
as can be.
Money.
And just lights out over a 10 whole time. I mean, just
whole
crazy.
Time. Yeah, I know. So, I mean, she did miss the airmail that y'all could have won on, or y'all would have gotten first, but we won't talk about that.
It's one of those things, I'm in therapy for it. It's not a big deal.
Not that we think about it or talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
It's been so long ago.
It is what it is,
Right.
The wound is starting to close.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I say that my big takeaway from this weekend, I had a lot of fun. I felt like I threw to my level. I had some games where I threw, better, and I had some games where I threw worse. Talked about that 5 I threw in the, the beginning of the video. I threw a 5.6 or something. I mean, come on. But, I had I think I had a 9 something in there one game. But
nice.
I feel like, just piggybacking on the question from the last video about the regional of, is it time to move up? I just don't think it is. I mean, again, I'm 7th in competitive singles, which didn't get merged. So these are against other competitive players.
Yeah.
And I just got beat. And I made a clarifying point to somebody talking about that game that I lost that I could have won with the airmail. I said, that dude's good. I was like, and not he needs to be an advanced good. He definitely is in the right division, but man, he's good. I wasn't ready for that, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's how I know, like, I'm where I need to be. I need to be in competitive right now. That's where I need to be. Getting to play in advanced and then running into 2 top tier advanced teams solidified it. It's like, even if Craven and I said, we've won competitive doubles twice now, let's go ahead and play advanced doubles. Why? We got killed.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is just, I just don't feel like we still just don't have that consistency to be at the next level.
Yeah, I mean, it'll come, with time, and you guys will get there. But yeah. So everybody, to answer the question of the episode, we took a long time to do it, but we're not really any better than the average player, to be honest. My dad's been playing for about 2 years. He throws in the 7s, 8s. I've been playing for a year. On my best day, I throw in the 7s, or close to my best day ever. I threw like a 7-8 or something like that on a whole regional day. But yeah, so for me, I'm just moving from intermediate going into competitive now, and I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about the future. But yeah, so I'm right there in the very bottom of competitive right now.
Yeah. So that's the answer to your question is, no, we are not good at all, and we just hope that you guys are good and are getting better, and
yep.
we hope that we're able to help you guys get better. I mean, I like to believe that the advice we give is sound, good advice that we just can't execute ourselves.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And no, yeah, in all seriousness, we're all getting better together, and right. I know we have gotten so much better at just over time. It just
absolutely,
It's just like, I don't know, anything. You're trying to lose weight or whatever. It's like you look in the mirror and you see yourself every day. You don't notice the differences. But even if you're just growing mentally, like you're just getting a calloused mind, like maybe when you throw a bag off the back or you throw a front board or something, it just doesn't affect you like it used to. Like maybe you used to get really upset, but now you're just like, you shrug it off. You're like, look, I mean, I don't have a time machine. I just threw the bag. If I could have thrown it better, I would have, but I didn't. And so it's on in the next. Yeah. And so it's a whole, it's a mental sport. It's a sport of repetition, and, we'll get there.
We will get there. We'll get there together. So let's do it.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you everybody for listening. We really appreciate your support. Please comment down below. Anything that's helped you get better recently, because we're not, we don't want this to be one way. This isn't us offering you advice, all the time and not expecting anything in return. Like this, like we would love to hear how you guys are progressing in your, careers playing the game and stuff like that. So
absolutely. So, comment below. Let us know if you have any questions. Also, let us know if there's something you want us to talk about. Because we try to come up with relevant topics to talk about on the show, and we would love nothing more than to discuss some things that you guys think are important. We'd be happy if we don't even know about it. We'll be happy to look into it, figure it out, and at least try to give a point of view that we can. So please, if you like our content, then like the video, share it with your friends. We're all in this together, and I know that there are people out there who are in the same boat we are, who maybe need a place like this to come and to learn and grow, and we want to be here with you guys along the way. So,
all right, well, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
See ya.